Hey everybody, welcome back to the Basic Baka Club! We're at Goodwill! We're doing a cosplay challenge. Specifically, going to Goodwill and finding things to make a Lapis Lazuli outfit. Oh yeah! Hi. I found a couple of shirts, a cool cup, a spoon for a later project, something for Ben, but we're not gonna get into that, so... Oh yeah, and a tripod, which I'm using right now. This is the bag for it. Luckily, I found two shirts in the almost same blue color of Lapis's outfit, shown here. Cool turtleneck, well, a warm turtleneck, a regular long sleeve shirt, and a dark blue shirt for, you know, the accent pieces. I'm just cutting off the sleeves and the turtleneck to get to the main piece of the shirt, you know, for the fabric. This is gonna be the skirt. And since I only have two shirts, it's not going to be a very full skirt, but that's okay. I took my waist measurement, I divided it into 4, and I just sort of measured that out along the neck right over here, because that's the smallest part, and I want the bottom of the shirt to be the biggest part, so it'll be the biggest and the flowiest, and I just sort of made a straight line on either side, cut that out, and I matched it to the other 3 pieces of the shirts. When this all comes together, it'll make a sort of A-line skirt. And I'm sort of using the neck hole to my advantage because it makes a circle afterwards. Clever, eh? And the Hanes shirt underneath has like a lower scoop in front, right there. That I can use for the front of the skirt because it has that diamond applique there. Well, triangle applique there. Right here, I'm gonna be cheeky. I'm gonna use the neck and also the wrist pieces as like a waistband because they're kind of stretchy and thick. And I just sort of trace where I want the little triangle to be, how big I want it to be, and that'll be the skirt piece. Over here, I'm taking the wrist pieces. I'm trying to get more fabric out of it. So I'm taking my seam ripper and I'm trying to pick at the little threads there. This is getting me maybe a 1/4 inch more fabric. It's not much, but seam allowance will make it more seam allowance-y, I guess. Everything counts when you have such little fabric to work with. Here I split open one of the sleeves, well, 2 of the sleeves. This is gonna be the top. And it really helps to have a dress form. It's not necessary. Do this on yourself or on a friend if they trust you or you trust yourself. Anyways, I mark out where I want the top to be in pins because I don't want to, use a marker or anything because I don't trust myself with a marker. Pins are movable and nudgeable and repositionable. I'm just trying to get this to lay flat. As you can see with this pin right here, and also making it flat, I sort of pinch the fabric to make a little dart, and I pin that down. That's where I want everything to be. This part is, the middle part is gonna be cut out soon, and it's not gonna make any difference because I'm gonna put a dart there, but the piece of fabric is flat, and it makes me feel better. And this is also where I want all of the lines to go. Here's the center point. I want to flip the canvas, well, the fabric, to make sure it's balanced, artist terms, and to make sure it's symmetrical and that it works on both sides. If it's like a little janky on one side, I don't want it to be janky on both sides, you know what I mean? I mark both sides where I want the triangle to be as well, and when I lay it flat, it looks like this. It's a little bit weird, but that's how it turned out, things. That triangle at the top, that cutout is where the dart is, where I put the dart. And right here I'm just trying to make 2 symmetrical sides. I am sort of flipping one side of the fabric and I'm putting a pin on the second piece of fabric to sort of mark where it needs to be. Eventually I got 2 symmetrical sides. You can do this with a piece of paper and just do one piece of paper and like flip it on either side. Whatever your cup of tea is. I'm just making the front seam stuck together, kind of like that. I'm just sort of fit testing this to make sure it's kind of where I want it to be. Looks okay. I put the applique piece on top to make sure it's okay. Flip it around a little bit. Make sure it's okay. The rest of this shirt is waste, but I can make it into something cute maybe, possibly. A later project. Right here I'm just sort of folding over the sides because I don't want these raw edges, you know, out in the open. I have where I want the line to be, and I replace the pin with a fold, and I sort of pin it down. And that's gonna be the edge of my shirt, I suppose. And then I realized that sewing it with the pins straight up and down, like perpendicular to the fold, is easier to sew, so I switched it to that. Make sure all of the threads are behind, it makes it easier to sew. And now I'm just sewing along this guideline, which I have to make sure my seam allowance is even. These little lines are very helpful for that. And I'm sort of pushing the fabric through. You're not supposed to push fabric normally, but it was not going on its own. My grandma taught me that, don't push the fabric unless you really need to. Right here I'm snipping the curves of the armhole, and that's going to allow the fabric to open up and lay flat. Well, lay flat, not necessarily open up. I'm doing the same thing over here. I am folding it along the line which I want the edge to be, and I'm pinning it down. Make sure you go very slowly when you're working with pins like this. Ideally, you would stop the machine, take the pin out, stop the machine, but I was feeling adventurous today. Cutting off the excess, and doing a test fit. It's a little bit baggy here, so I'm just gonna pinch that down and make sure it's a little bit flatter. Here I have the back strap of this outfit, and this is all very stretchy material. It's all made out of t-shirt material, so I don't really need buttons or Velcro or fasteners because it's just gonna stretch over and I just sort of slip in. But anyways, the largest part of the front, I made the strap large at the ends so that it will seamlessly go in. Right here I have my triangle of my darker fabric. I'm just pinning that down. I have it bigger than I need so I can have the excess fold down like this. And I just pin it in place, and I like how it looks, so that's what I'm gonna stick with. I mark where I want the edges to meet up. I cut out the excess in the middle so that it'll have an easier, well, I'll have an easier time sewing the two pieces together. And when I flip it right side out, there won't be a seam there. Or noticeable, you know, threads going through. There won't be a line. And right here I have both pieces. I have exactly where I want the pins to where I want the two pieces to meet up. I'm just sort of making sure that the pins stick together, and where they would meet, I make sure that I pin right there in place. I'm gonna sew over that later. And it's gonna look something like this. It was a little baggy when I put it all together, so I just sort of pinch this together, pin it in place, sew it down, and cut the excess off so that it's a little bit tighter fitting and not sagging. Here's a progress pic. And I need to finish the straps. But the straps on Lapis's top don't go inward towards the neck like a normal halter top. It sort of goes in the center. It sits on the center of the shoulder. And then it goes in for where the tie goes in the back. So I had to make this sort of modified sort of strap to get that effect. And, you know, she's a cartoon. She doesn't have much of a shoulder going on. So this is like the closest amalgamation I'm gonna try to achieve. I fold the sides over, sew it to the rest of the top. I make a couple of long rectangles to finish off the ribbon, and I pin the skirt together. This is a very not full skirt, but I pin it together, hope for the best, and I do the same thing to the bottom, which I did to the top. I sewed together the pieces of neck and wrist thingies together. I put it on the waist. I pinned it all up, sewed it down, and I got a skirt. Also, I didn't have to do any fasteners for this because it's, once again, t-shirt material. I can just slip in and out of it, which is very convenient. I also have to do the same thing that I did to the top, to the bottom. I cut the center piece out so that I can sew the two pieces together without having to sew on top of the darker piece. And then you would just get this weird top stitching, which I don't think looks very good in t-shirt material. So I'm sewing jokes. So I'm just gonna sew the pieces together like I did for the top. Something like that. Side note, I didn't have to hem the bottom of the skirt because the t-shirt was already hemmed at the bottom. So one less step for me, and I got the most length out of the skirt that I could get. And here's the finished look. We did a little shoot on the hill outside of our place. I really like how it turned out. The skirt is a little not full, that's okay. It got the effect going. I was blue, and that's half the battle. Why you gotta be so blue? But I love how this turned out. It was super simple to make, super easy, super cheap because I went to Goodwill. Three shirts. One I barely used. But thanks for watching. I hope you liked this video. If you have any other characters you want me to do or any challenges you want me to do, sound off in the comments down below, and we'll see you in the next episode. Alright, remember kids, you can't spell Dwee without we. Bye!